cultivating mature positivity.
CMPRadio.net.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth.
La 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 la. Behind the scene, my tears fall down. So many things have happened. The years go by and the friends you have for no more. Jealousy and envy. Wow, because you keep on grinding. People wanna see you fail, and although you fall, just move on. Crabs in a barrel, want what you have, try to pull you down. Don't wanna work, just wanna take. They also hate on me.
The more you hate, I'll get left out. Check. How you doing now?
The more you hate,
I'll get left out. Hello. How y'all doing out there tonight? I want to welcome you all out to another evening of me running my mouth talking to you. So, this whole thing, I want to ask a question. The question is, what are your rights? What are your rights? What is a right in this great country of ours? Now, I'm asking this question specifically for a reason. And the reason why I'm asking this question is because for the life of me, I can't quite figure out what my rights are. I know that America constantly talks about protecting and preserving. And let's look at this over time, because a lot of laws and stuff that's been put in place have been put in place at a time that was so long ago that it's kind of antiquated, but it's still used for rulings today. What are your rights? Okay, so let me run something past you. Did y'all know that President Biden the other day said that the Department of Labor was doing like this whole emergency thing, and he's ordered them to do this emergency thing where any company who has 100 plus employees, 100 or more employees, they have to mandate those workers to get the vaccination. Now, that's over 80 million people. And he chose a very special line to say that you need to really understand, that you really need to hear, that you really need to listen to. What he said was that it's not about your rights. It's not about your rights about your body. It's about keeping people safe, keeping Americans safe, keeping the people you love safe. And these are all of the reasons that they were tossing out there. This is what it's about. So it's not about your rights. It's not about your right to choose. It's literally about him, because he even said as president, it is his job to protect all Americans. All Americans. And it's so funny, as I sat there and listened to him, I thought about the phrase of how absolute power corrupts absolutely. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Anytime you can stand up there in front of this country and say that it's not about you, it's not about your right with your body, but it's about keeping the public at large safe. Now, what I've done here is I've comprised a list of how many times America has done things to protect the public. And when I tell you that America has literally done these things, you correct me if I'm wrong. So I did some writing. So many years ago, slavery was a matter of national security. It was for the good of the country. And this was in law. Slavery was for good of the country. And they justified slavery by, number one, declassifying who African Americans were as human beings, right? So we were less than a whole man. When it came down to voting anyway. But then most people took that and ran with it. But the way the country justified it was, okay, slaves are cared for, clothed. They are giving religion. Also, they said that slaves' lives were better than poor Northerners that worked in factories. So I don't know if poor Northerners was getting hung and raped and burned and branded and, the list goes on. You got what I'm saying? But like Biden said, it's not about freedom. It's about what's best for the country. So at a time, slavery was considered what was best for this country. Also, it was a matter of national security because for cheap goods, the country needed cheap goods and they couldn't rely on Britain and things of that nature because of the bad blood. So now I know my listeners are probably thinking right now, oh, he's turning this into a slavery conversation. No. Let me tell you what else has happened in the name of this country, that what was best for this country's people. And this is actually something, once again, that this country had did. So prohibition protected us from addiction. So, the people said, and plus, so the government said, and the government also said that it's not your right to be out in public drunk. You know what I mean? So they did this whole freaking scheme about prohibition. But you know what they did? Like, people started smuggling alcohol. So you know what the government did? Honest to God truth, if I'm lying, I'm flying, and I ain't took off yet. And the funny part about it all is that this was at one time a conspiracy theory. Just putting it out there. So the government randomly poisoned barrels of alcohol, killed over 10,000 Americans for their own good. But I'm literally telling you, look it up. Let me tell you something. I always tell you, don't listen to me. Look it up for yourself. So America itself, and this was considered to be a conspiracy theory that actually happened. That really happened. See, whenever they want to discount something, they're going to tell you it's a conspiracy theory. But what does your rights matter, right? The government knows what's best for you. They do. And so they figured to stop people from drinking and to stop people from going to these speakeasies after they made alcohol illegal, they poisoned these barrels of alcohol, killing 10,000 Americans, and no one has answered for that. No one has answered for that. But they did what was best for this country. They did what was best for the people of this country, or so they would have us believe. Marijuana, same thing. Same thing. Now, this is what's crazy. So they banned marijuana to protect us from addiction, but also to protect us from Mexicans. You see, for most of the history of marijuana, the hemp was used to make clothing, textiles, make all types of things. Hemp has over like 2,000 uses, and so many different countries were using it. So many different countries were using it for useful products. Now, when the Mexicans started coming to America, you got what I'm saying? When they started coming to America, becoming naturalized and everything else, the Mexicans was like, oh yeah, it has medicinal purposes too. And this is what started like Americans smoking marijuana, right? And so what happened? Once again, for the betterment of our country, our government stepped in. And our government demonized weed. But not only did they demonize weed, they did it by demonizing the Mexicans who came over to work, who came over to, get their slice of the American pie. All of a sudden, marijuana made you crazed. Marijuana made you have unprotected sex and rape people and do weird shit. Because that's what the government wanted you to believe in for so long. For so long in our recent American history, marijuana was outlawed. So now they decided, maybe marijuana ain't such a bad idea. You got what I'm saying? And so now they legalized it and said, we're going to make money off of it, and they do. But the odd part is you would legalize a substance that people are doing time for. And those people don't get to walk free because of the jailing system, because those people equal money in jail. How can you have a substance that is now legal and still have people locked up for the crime of selling something that is now legal? And not that they're violent offenders or nothing, but they may have gotten caught with weed. You got what I'm saying? So it gets a little bit sticky, a little ridiculous, if you will. What are your rights? What are your rights? Anytime the president can stand up in front of us and tell us it's not about your freedom, it's about protecting. Let me tell you something. I had a conversation with one of my friends earlier, and she said one of my favorite phrases, literally said, well, when it comes down to it, they will always put the truth in front of your face. They don't care. They put it in movies. They put it in cartoons. They put the truth into everything. And the honest to God truth is, it's right. So many things are flaunted in front of our faces. But so y'all don't think that I'm just favoring black people. So you don't think I'm just favoring people who have vices, alcohol, marijuana. Let me tell you what else America had said. It's not about your freedom, but it's about the protection of the wholesomeness of this country. It's not about you and what you want to do. This justifies him getting the Department of Labor to put an emergency mandate in order that these companies that have 100 employees or more, over 80 million people, have to get vaccinated. This justifies it's not about your freedom. So here you go. This is another situation where it wasn't about our freedom. Love. Now you're looking at me, I'm sure, you like love. Like, when did anybody say anything about love? Well, let me break it down for you. Interracial and gay marriage. So at one point in time, interracial marriage, let's break it down first, because it's not the same thing. So interracial marriage, because people were two different colors, it was against the law. And their reasoning was that the genes pool shouldn't mix and that it was corrupting the youth and against nature. We have to save the wholesomeness of this country. Interracial marriages should not exist. Now, it sounds like hate speech coming from me, coming from my mouth. It literally sounds like hate speech, doesn't it? Interracial marriage shouldn't exist. It sounds like hate speech, don't it? But at one point in time, our country felt like they were protecting us. It was against nature. Genes shouldn't mix because babies would come out all messed up because you mixed the races. And that was a core value in American history. It was for our own good. It's not about your freedom. It's about the good of the country. You got what I'm saying? Gay marriage. Same thing. It's an abomination. For the wholesomeness of this country, gay people should not exist. And see, that was America speaking. So they did what any red-blooded American would do. They protected the people from gay marriage. They felt like if kids see gay people getting married, then they would be gay. That was the logic. That they would strive to be gay. If people saw interracial marriages, people would strive to marry people outside their race, and it would mess up the gene pool. And these were all things that America has done to its people. But let me tell you something. And I forgot to say this too. Way back when, they said that being gay was contagious. They literally thought, let me tell y'all something. You're going to laugh at me when I tell you this. Did you know one of the dumbest weapons, and you can look it up, literally look it up. Do you know that that this country worked on developing a gay bomb to use in war, a gay bomb? Like, let me tell you something. I wish, for the life of me, I wish I was making this up. It sounds like some Mighty Python freaking slapstick comedy. A gay bomb? Are you serious? Everything I say to you, look it up. Please look it up. But I would like to say that I'm finished on all of that. But let me tell you what else America was saving us from at a point in time. And I'm getting to my point soon enough, but I got to run this shit down. So at a point in time, contraception and abortion. So abortion used to be illegal, and everybody knows that, but contraception was also. And they said that contraception was illegal at a point in time in this country because the government felt like it interfered with God's plan. Abortion was illegal because it interfered with God's plan, but also they tagged on preserving life and interfering with God's plan. And so it's not about your liberty. It's not about your freedom. It's about what America thought was best for this country. And all of these things that I'm running down, at some point in time, there was a president standing before us telling us what was best for us. And so, okay, for people who are not gay, it don't affect you. For people who are not interested in the opposite sex, it might not bother you. For people who don't drink or smoke weed, it may not bother you. You got what I'm saying? It's so many things that America has done that they said was for the betterment of us. Now, this is one of my personal favorites on this list that America has done to its people for the good of the people. Sterilization. Did y'all hear me? Sterilization. So back in the day, you know what? This is so fucking deep. So back in the day, if you had any mental problems or anything, and you went into an institution, the government had laws in place that snipped and clipped. They sterilized those people who were in those facilities because they wanted to protect them from having children that they couldn't care for, and also protect society from people who are unworthy to breed. They not my words. I'm just saying this is what America protected us from. People who were unworthy to breed. And who makes that choice? but it goes along with eugenics. You can look it up, Buck versus Bell, you know. Buck versus Bell, the ruling was pretty much that they were protecting society from people who were unfit to have children. And that went from the 1900s, early 1900s, all the way up to 1970. They were also sterilizing young black women. Sterilizing young black women. And as a matter of fact, even after the government in the 70s kind of outlawed that whole sterilization thing, I think it was South Carolina, Dakotas. South Carolina did it for an additional 2 years. So if you went in because you got raped, they sterilized you. If you went in because you were pregnant and you wanted to get an abortion or whatever the case may be, once that shit became legal, they sterilized you. Because they saw people as unfit to have children. And this, the even weirder part, Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood. So you think to yourself that, oh, well, Planned Parenthood is about choice. Planned Parenthood stands for this. And let me tell you something. You better do your history on Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood was never about choice. When Planned Parenthood was conceived, it fell under the same category. The woman who started it, who was an honorary member of the Ku Klux Klan, she herself did speeches and was on talk shows and stuff, on the news anyway, where she literally said that some people were unfit to have kids. And she made, not only said some people, but black people in general, people of color were unfit to have children. And that's what Planned Parenthood started out as. You got what I'm saying? And so maybe somebody came along and tried to gut it a little bit, I don't know, and all of a sudden make it about pro-choice. I don't know. But aren't you tired of America doing what's best for us and overall making a choice for you and your family? Let me tell y'all something. The crazy part about everything is that it's hard to overcome these obstacles right now. And the reason why it's so hard to overcome these obstacles is because all of a sudden, literally, all of a sudden, well, not all of a sudden, it's been going on. They're doing the same old trick that they've been doing. They keeping us at each other's throats. They keep us looking at each other. One person is unworthy while someone else is. They do the same thing all the time. Women are second-class citizens. Oh, you know, the problem is all the gays. Oh, no, the problem is all the black people in the hood, homie, killing each other, brother. Oh, the problem is white people. The problem is Mexicans. The problem is Latinos, Latinas. The problem is them damn Asians. The problem is every label that is out there in this universe right now. And we can't, now the new problem is the new label. The vaccinated against the anti-vaxxers. Because if you're not vaccinated, you're an anti-vaxxer. You got what I'm saying? My daughter literally told me she got into a whole argument with her doctor because he offered her the vaccine and she didn't want to take it. And he got so husky with her that he started talking about his education. How long he went to school, how much money he paid, why I'm gonna sit up here and lie to you. Like in other words, who are you for me to lie to? You had to validate your whole career to argue with a young woman. And to me personally, I'm glad my daughter was strong enough to stand on her own resolve, because let me tell you something. In any other situation, if it was somebody else, they may have felt almost bullied into taking it, although they didn't feel that it was right for them. My daughter said, I'm young, so if I get it 9 times out of 10, I can fight it off. And it's my choice. So why would this whole doctor who spent all that money going to school, as he said, to get so educated, why are you sitting there arguing with a patient when it's really supposed to be about them, right? You're supposed to make these decisions with your doctor, not have an argument with them, right? Why does everything turn out to be a problem? Man, you can look at me however the fuck you want to look at me. Guess what? I don't care. I don't care. They lied from the very beginning of this, and the lies have not stopped coming. And I'm sorry. I just watched a commercial the other day about a cancer freaking treatment, right? And I'm listening to all of the fucking side effects. All of the fucking side effects. Man, they talked about side effects. It was a black and white commercial with, I'm guessing the older black woman had cancer, but the side effects was so long that it literally took about freaking 30, 40 seconds to list all of them. And you know how fast they talk. And one of the side effects, yes, of course, was death. Was death. And then they say to you, oh, well, this might not work for everybody. Yeah, but the way you find out if it's not going to work for you is if you die or have an adverse reaction. They can't tell you before you put it in your body. And this for a drug that has been vetted for 10 years, that y'all did studies on and everything. You can't make no guarantees. Listen, I'm sorry. I would wait it out. Let me tell you something. I fall into a high risk category. Like if I caught COVID, it's going to be a rougher ride than most. And I know this. But even in having this knowledge, I don't want that shit in my body. And on top of that, how dare you tell me? How dare the United States of America president stand up there and say it's not about your freedom? When I spent 15 years in the military fighting for your right to choose, your right to call me a nigga, your right to have a KKK page up on the internet, your right to be a dick to me. I fought for your rights for a lot of things, me and a lot of other people. And now you want to stand here in front of these people who serve this country unselfishly, regardless to how they feel. Because you know what? I fought for you to feel like I should take the vaccination. I fought for you to have that, for you to feel that way and you to express that. With no holds barred, with nobody stopping you from saying these things, because this is America, right? But it's not about our freedom. It's literally not about our freedom. President Biden said that. It's not about our freedom. He said that it's about protecting the people you love. So because you're telling me that this will protect the people I love, then that means that you're right and I'm wrong. So my common sense goes out of the window. Oh, I get it. Because I choose to critically think and question, because I choose to look up stuff, to look at Harvard, to look up Oxford studies, because I choose to look up things and inform myself, because I choose to take my time and watch these videos about gain of function. And even right now, freaking, they're trying to stop the funding of gain of function. So why are you trying, if gain of function had nothing to do with COVID-19, it didn't have anything to do with COVID, but something to do with COVID-19, why all of a sudden are you trying to stop gain of function testing? When it was outlawed in like 2012, I think they wasn't funding it or nothing. Then all of a sudden they said, well, hey, maybe it's okay. And the government decided, hey, we'll fund it. So it's all good now. And all of a sudden COVID-19 happens. Now all of a sudden gain of function testing is a problem. But it has nothing to do with COVID-19. I mean, who the fuck do these people think we are? When do we stand up and say, yo, this shit ain't real? And until the truth sprinkles down from the fucking heavens, I promise you, I literally promise you, I will take my fucking chances. And what does it matter for you? Because if you're vaccinated and you're against the new label of anti-vaxxer, look how many labels I got. I'm an anti-vaxxer. I'm a nigga or nigger. I'm a veteran. Oh my God. So sometimes that's like a kick in the teeth. I'm a black male. I'm a male. Look at all of the fucking labels that I have. Look at all the labels they have given you to judge me on. But guess what? Look at yourself. How many labels are on top of you? And I promise you, these labels are just all smoke and mirrors. It's sleight of hand. It's what magicians do to take your eye off of what they're really fucking doing. So you tell me, literally look up gain of function when they stopped gain of function back in, I believe it was 2012, right? And then all of a sudden they said that shit was okay. And then all of a sudden they made changes. And the reason why they stopped gain of function before is over a virus that was made and a mistake that was made. And they stopped it, but then they started it up again. Then all of a sudden we get a pandemic because gain of function testing, it takes something that naturally occurs in nature in an animal. And what they do is make changes to it so that it goes from the animal to a human being. You got what I'm saying? They have to literally engineer it. They have to do something to it, to change it, to, in other words, make it go on that whole fast forward thing. So maybe COVID-19 would have eventually happened one day. It may have, but maybe 200 years from now. Maybe 300 years from now, shit, maybe never. How do we know? If you ever, always remember this, all of these flus and stuff like that, that shit come from animals, mostly birds. And even when we got the swine flu, the reason why it was called the swine flu is because it did come from a bird that transferred to a pig that transferred to humans. If I'm lying, I'm flying, and I ain't took off yet. Let me tell you something. Once again, never believe anything you hear coming out of these cameras or anything. And I don't give a fuck if it's from me or anybody else. You ain't never got to take my word for nothing. But I promise you, if you do your due diligence and you look things up, you'll see what I'm telling you is true for yourself with your own eyes. Because guess what? Nobody hides anything. But sometimes things are so huge. Our minds, it's almost like our minds can't process it. It's almost like our minds want to protect us from this evil, dark secret. You don't believe that? Let me tell you what your mind does for you on a daily basis. Your mind protects you from bad things. Something bad happens, you might not even be able to remember everything because your mind is protecting you from it. And sometimes these truths are so horrible, like we don't want to accept it. And so it's easier for them to say conspiracy theory. It's easy for somebody to say you're crazy because it's easier to believe that one person is crazy than to believe an entity like the government can do something so huge. It's hard to believe it. It's hard to believe that freaking Fauci, which I've just been notified not too long ago, and I did not know that his wife is actually the head of the NIH. You got what I'm saying? So he's sitting up there and everybody is like, oh, Dr. Fauci. And it's easy to look at him as a good guy because you had Trump there saying shit. And you had Fauci like, oh, hold on there, partner. Hold on there. And so everybody believed him and he became a household name. So why would you believe that he would have anything to do with anything but protecting the general public at large? How many lies have to be uncovered before we believe one truth? And this is why I keep saying, I know I sound crazy because I'm speaking on it. I gotta sound crazy to you. If you're sitting up here listening to my voice right now and you hear all of these things coming out my mouth, you gotta be like, this dude has lost it. Because none of this stuff could be true. Let me read some of these comments. But Rube just said his wife is the head of the bioethics department in the NIH. Ethics. But it's so funny because way back in the day, when I first started doing this show, we had a conversation about ethics and morality and how it's a social construct. Because what's right to me may be wrong to you. We can both look at the same crime and think it carries different weights. If a man robbed a store to feed his family and hurt no one, you might sit and say, well, that man deserves to walk free. But for another person, they may look at it and say, man, he deserves to go to jail. I don't care. He stole something. He stole something from somebody who was trying to make it. Let me tell you something. Everybody got a story. But bioethics, huh? Bioethics. So Ruben said marijuana is on a $10 bill. Christina said, the problem with the world is everybody needs to mind their own business. People always want to say so in your life, but isn't doing anything to help. People always try to force their beliefs on you. And if you believe differently, they try to ostracize you. If people worried about things that affect them, they wouldn't have time to put their nose in other people's affairs. We're supposed to be free. But being completely free would mean we would have to live somewhere away from society. I agree. See, when you're in a society, what happens is there becomes certain rules that society makes up in general. So if at large, the majority of the population, if they don't accept people getting high, then getting high becomes against the law. That's just the way that it goes. But if you enjoy getting high in the comforts of your home and you don't hurt anybody and you think it's not a crime, that doesn't mean society at large doesn't think that it's a crime. Does that mean I'm promoting people go home and get high in the comfort of their home? No, don't mean that. Don't mean that at all. But I can tell you this, if you are home right now getting high, I don't care. I don't care. You ain't climbing through my window. You ain't stealing nothing over here. You ain't giving me no trouble, so why should I care? Why is it that all of a sudden, well, it's not even all of a sudden once again. See, sad to say, our country, they're like warmongers, they're fear mongers. They create things to make us all afraid. To make us all afraid. I mean, look at 9/11. I tried to explain before, no one never comes and take away all your freedoms at once. They take away a little bit at a time. A little bit at a time. And before you know it, this is how your rights get taken away. they'll make one thing a rule, right? One thing, they'll push this one thing on you until the general public gets used to it. Okay, this is just the way it is. Hey man, this is what you got to do. And then it becomes a norm. And so no longer are people upset about it. Everyone's just doing it. Just doing it. Keep doing that over time. Pretty soon it just becomes a way of life. And that one small change that got instituted, it stays on the books, and it's just what they do. So then something else happens. And no, they don't take everything. They don't snatch everything. Let me tell you something. Homeland Security was created and buffed up after 9/11. Then all of a sudden, oh, this happens when we go to the airport. Now it's just a part of life. Nobody's really complaining about it or anything. Hey, if it's going to take you 2 hours, 3 hours to check in, that's just, oh, it's the airport. That's what you got to do. But it wasn't always like that. But it is now, and we're used to just doing it. And they took away freedoms a little bit at a time because they scared us enough to believe that every plane you got on, it was going to be a hijacker. Something was going on. It's the war on terror. And even the truth behind that, do we really know the truth behind 9/11? Do we? Let me tell you something. They're allowed to listen to our phone communications and everything else. They just are. Hell, Facebook sells our information. Why not? Apple just came up with this new thing to where if you have, and you know, I'm not thinking about whether what I'm about to say is morally or ethically right or wrong, but I'm more so looking at the implications of it and how it becomes a slippery slope. So if somebody have pictures on their phone that is considered to be child porn by somebody watching it, Apple will report your account to the FBI. Now that's without your knowledge. So let's say you took pictures of your child in a tub or pictures of your twins embracing naked in the tub or running around the yard naked. You got what I'm saying? And somebody looked at that and considered that to be pornographic. Now, all of a sudden, your account is being watched by the government. And this is what I mean. Like, your rights are taken away one piece at a time. You have all of these people who have collectively become like millionaires, billionaires, well, a small amount of people, millionaires, billionaires. And for the most part, they buy ex-senators to go and lobby for them in Congress to give them all their little loopholes or to at least navigate the loopholes that are in place so that they can loosen up tax laws and help them hide their monies and move their monies and do whatever they do. And what people don't realize is a lot of times even the EPA is a bunch of bullshit, because at the end of the day, what happens is if, let's say I was an oil driller, right? So for each company is allowed so much pollution per year. So many, I think it's cubic feet of emissions, like pollution, right? So most of the times companies go over top of that and they'll pay a fine to the EPA, right? They pay a fine for them violating the amount of pollution that they could create. The funny part is they make so much profit that it's worth it paying the damn fine, because they make 20 times over what the fine is by breaking the law. I don't make this shit up. I wish I could. I mean, at the end of the day, my question is, how do we come together? I mean, when is it okay for our president to stand there and tell us that it's not about our freedom? I mean, what are your thoughts on that? It's not about your freedom. Now, to somebody who thinks that we all should be vaccinated, that sounds about right because it fits your narrative. But always remember, on any side of a conversation, we could find ourselves standing one day. One day you'll be standing in the shoes of somebody who does not want something forced onto you. And maybe I might be standing in the shoes of you right now, wanting to force it on you, wanting to say it's for your own good. It's for everybody's own good. You got what I'm saying? When you start intervening in personal choice, it's a problem. It's a big problem. You got what I'm saying? We have to look at that. We have to look at that. We have to literally look at everything, call everything into question. Everything that this country said was good for us in the past, it was just a crock of shit. It was a way of controlling. It was a way to take away your rights. And you know, I know right now, everybody might be sitting back thinking you sound like a Bible-thumping Republican. Maybe that's what I do sound like. I don't know. But what I can tell you is that for someone who has literally personally invested some of his life into a system that is supposed to protect your right to choose, I mean, come on. I don't get it. I just literally don't get it. At what point do we stand up and take our freedoms back? At what point do we say, like, that's enough? I'm going to take a 2-second break to tell y'all that this Thursday at 517 Avenue of the States, there is an open mic called Slick Talk that is at Dream Event Space. Once again, that's 517 Avenue of the States, Chester, PA 19013. Doors open at 7, I believe. Doors open up at 7. Come on down, sign up for the open mic list. Do what you do. Spit your poetry. Tell your personal truth. You got what I'm saying? And personal truth is it's important. I don't want to take nothing away from anybody. I just don't. And when I joined the military, believe it or not, I believed a lot of the rhetoric that is around the military. I believed that, hey, in doing this, I'm protecting freedom. In doing this, you know, I'm protecting home and I'm protecting the people. But I think that patriotism is becoming a pill, and patriotism it's a pill, and war is like pain porn. You got what I'm saying? And the more people hurt, the more this country gets off on it. The more pain and misery, the more this country gets off on it. The honest to God truth is, when I look at it, it just seems like rich people get richer. I just found out something today. So I live in Chester. If you own property in Chester, you pay more taxes than people outside of the community that own property inside the community and rent it out. So how is it that the very people who live in the community pay more than the people who live outside of the community? I mean, laws just don't seem like they're set up to really favor us. Nothing seems like it's set up to really favor us as a whole. And let me tell you something. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you come from. You're important. and how you feel is important. And nobody has the right to take that away. Nobody. I'm literally telling you, inch by inch is how your freedoms are taken. Pay attention. Answer me this. Why is it that minimum wage has been $7.50 since about 2009? But at the same time, look at how far your money goes in the grocery store anymore and compare that to 2009. Look how much your gas costs. Shit, just recently, my property got reassessed. Guess what? Taxes are more, but minimum wage is the same. But these companies are allowed to constantly rape the people. So how can you possibly assume that America stands here to take care of you? How can you possibly assume for 1 second that it's really not the United States of America? Well, you can't assume that it's the United States of America. It's really the United States of corporations. Because no one's looking out for you. No one is looking out for you. And even on top of that, let's think about this. I said this before, I'll say it again. For some reason, this vaccine, you can get it like candy. But there are people dying, literally dying from cancer. Literally dying because they can't afford their diabetes medication. They can't afford insulin. It's older people damn near living on cat food and shit trying to fucking afford their medication. This is all life-saving stuff, and you want to act like you give a fuck about my life. How can you stand here and say you give a fuck about life when you watch so many people die when they don't have enough to fucking pay? You literally, this country lets so many people die because they can't pay. Matter of fact, I got you one better. Go to the emergency room and have something wrong with you where they're saying you immediately need to be seen by your doctor within the next 2 weeks, and then fucking make an appointment. Watch how long it takes. It was a whole article done, and I wish I could remember. When I do, I'll post it. But it was called Dying to Wait. Because making an appointment to see a doctor anymore, it takes so freaking long to get in that people die waiting for their appointment to come up. Literally. Like hospitals can do stuff to you, fuck you up. You can go to court, and a lot of times people don't wind up winning. They don't wind up winning their cases, and especially people of color. And I wish I was making this shit up. I literally wish I was making this shit up, but I'm not. And then you want to tell me with a straight face that it's not about my freedom, that it's about the people I love. You don't give a fuck about what I love because you would rather watch them die when they can't afford to pay for something that costs pennies in Canada. That costs pennies on every dollar in Canada. Overseas, medications cost more in America than anywhere else in the world. If I'm lying, I'm flying, and I ain't took off yet. But you want me to believe that you care about me or about the people I love? You want to guilt me into telling me if I loved my coworkers, if I loved my children, if I loved my family members, I would get vaccinated? Man, let me tell you something. If somebody is trying to give away something that hard, I can't trust it. Even when I was younger, go out to a bar, whatever the case may be, if it was a girl in there trying to give it away to me too hard, I'm like, yo, there's something wrong with this. I'm sorry. That's the way I feel. Call it my fight or flight response. And I'm very fond of fighting, not too fond of taking flight. Besides that, I'm fatter these days and I can't see myself running too long. So I know that I don't gain popularity because of my viewpoint on it, because of my stance on it. And I'm pretty sure it's a lot of y'all out there like, man, why don't you just? I'll say this. Why don't you for 5 seconds think for yourself? Think for yourself. Because I will literally tell you, it's not that COVID isn't real. It's real, all right. But they've lied to us from the beginning. And these lies keep compounding and they keep giving conflicting information. As a matter of fact, you as a fucking responsible parent, tell me where this makes sense. Okay, COVID. All right, we got a vaccine for that, but the D variant is way more dangerous. Way more dangerous. Kill you dead. Kill you dead, I tell you. Okay, let's open up the school and let all the kids back. Okay, where does this make sense? Okay, let's say it wasn't COVID. So I'm going to say something really stupid, and I'm asking y'all to bear with me as I say this. So let's say that COVID turned people into zombies. Let's just say that. And let's say that there was a variant that turned those zombies into vampire zombies, right? Just some real outlandish shit I'm saying right now. Would you open up the schools and literally let the children into the schools, knowing that there was a possibility that things would just get worse at a time when you was telling us from the gate, stay home, stay home. Now it's like, it's not that COVID isn't there. It's that you come up with a vaccine, you tell everybody, oh, well, 95% of people are good, and you get these breakthrough cases, infections occasionally, and this, that, the third, but nobody is highlighting the medical issues and shit like that some people are having, and that stuff gets swept under the rug really, really fast. Let me tell you something. No matter what President Biden says, it is about your freedom. It's about your freedom and your freedom to choose. And the saddest part is just people that's walking around right now without masks and stuff, and that's their choice. If they don't want to wear a mask, they don't want to wear a mask. Fuck my personal opinion about it. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to wear a mask. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to wash my little dirty hands. But see, the funny part is I was always a hand washer. If you look at my hands, they dry as shit because I've always been a hand washer. Because I always think about the nasty stuff people do, like dig up their nose, dig in their butts, and just grab doorknobs and stuff. I think I asked my kids, I never let my kids, when they were little, they were not allowed to touch the doorknob. I would get mad at them if we went somewhere and they reached for the doorknob. No, you're not allowed to touch it because that's for me. I would rather get sick. You know what I mean? But I wash my hands. Let me read a couple of comments. Ruben said BioNTech discovered the initial vaccine trying to create therapies for cancers. However, the importance shifts to a vaccine while cancer cures take the back burner. Yes, sir. And let me tell you something else. There was a young lady and I have it in my phone. I swear I have it in my phone. I gotta look it up. And I meant to make a big deal out of this before. She discovered the way to treat cancer using fiber optics, an African-American young lady. You know what I mean? And she was trying to get like a Kickstarter and get enough funding and stuff like that to really get it off the ground and everything. But let me tell you something. You think they will ever do that? That meant that people wouldn't have to take chemo. People wouldn't have to take these medications. And her using those fiber optics, her thing was so accurate, but I guarantee you it'll never see the light of day. Growman said, Mike, that would be too much like right. And that sounds like that school in Carlisle for slave girls to fight zombies, black men zombies. I'm telling you, let me tell you something. It's such a shame that I even have to dig outside of the realm of reality to try to bring a point. You know what I mean? The whole point of everything is, if this virus is as bad as it's stated, and it's the pandemic for sure, and it killed about 4 million people, then I ask you all, how many people have cancer killed? And that's not to say, let me tell you something, I promise you, I don't want freaking COVID, and I don't want cancer either. And I'm not saying one is worse than the other. But what I am saying is, why hasn't cancer been considered a pandemic? Do you know how many people, I know more people, I swear to God, I know more people with cancer than I know that had COVID. Honest to God truth. Honest to God truth. And at one point in time, I knew more people who was having brain aneurysms and shit. Like, it seemed like certain periods come around, and then it's like certain periods come around, and it seemed like the general population at large is affected by something a whole lot. You'll hear too many people dying of one certain illness or something, and it'd be like, well, damn, man, that's crazy. That's crazy. And let me tell you the sad part about everything. I know a lot of times they'll say, oh, well, you know, cancer can run in families, and this can run in families, and that can run in families. But the odd part about everything is, if all of these diseases are such a problem and such pandemics, then number one, why would you allow anybody to create something more dangerous for the human race? And a lot of the argument had became, and I don't mean to switch over because I just thought about gain of function again. Why would you allow anybody to create any virus or anything to be used in war or to be used against the general public at large? Why would you let anybody create something like that? If you honestly cared about a population, period. Why would you allow people to do gain of function testing when you just know it can wind up bringing out something more harmful to the general public at large? Why is it, if you care so much about human life, why do we do so little to protect it? Why do we do so little to protect it? Why is it that we have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars over years and years? Imagine somebody getting treatments for their whole life. Imagine the people that's sitting on dialysis. You got what I'm saying? Who won't get no kidney, but have to sit there and take these treatments that I'm sure cost something ridiculous. I mean, hell, what's even worse is, you go to the hospital and your doctor bill is in the sky, but y'all care about our lives once again. But you go into the doctors and they give you an aspirin for fucking $5. One aspirin, bitch, leave the bottle. You got what I'm saying? Let me take the rest home at least to put in my cabinet. You charging $10 for a Band-Aid. And all of this is legal. All of this is fucking legal, but you care about my life. You're telling me it's not about my freedom. No, it's not about my freedom. It's about the highest bidder. It's not about my freedom. We're all walking paychecks. You know what? I swear to God, they did something back in the day called Hands Across America. And I had this idea. I got this idea. A phrase sticks in my head. Who you give your money to is who you give your power to. How about this? How about we just stop? Because black people put about $1 trillion into shit. How about we just stop and we support the small businesses around us? And not support, fuck that word support. Don't support them. Shop there. Shop there. Make this person a person you get your clothes from. Make this person, when you decide for you and your family to eat out, fuck. Right now, if you try to get Chinese food for 4 people, you damn near gonna pay $50. It wasn't like that before. It wasn't like that before, which shows the $7.50 that they feel is fair over the past 10, 12 years that they've been paying people out. It just shows that the price of everything is rising, yet what you putting in your pocket is the same. And then this the double whammy. I forgot to mention this. A lot of jobs for people who don't make good money, a lot of those jobs are part-time jobs because they don't even want to pay you benefits. They don't want to pay you no damn benefits. Let me tell you, if we created a movement where we shopped from each other, where we took care of each other, let me tell you something. It makes all the difference in the world. It makes all the difference in the world. Then they'll start catering to us. You see, one thing that it seems like we have yet to learn is that the only time anybody comes around kissing our ass is when they want to get elected. That is it. You want your ass thoroughly kissed, they'll be there to kiss it when they want to get elected. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? Who cares about you? Who cares about your family? And then you want to stand up there and tell me it's not about my freedom or this illusion of fucking freedom? And you're supposed to be my president? Making so many gaffes that half the time I really do feel like you're a little senile. But then once again, whenever we go into these elections, we always pick the lesser of two evils. Why not? Yep, why not? So at the end of the day, we need to think about that. Let me read some more of these comments. Groman said, too many people profit off of it. You got that right. Diabetes too. Remember to diabetes run. Create a problem to fix a problem. Exactly. These folks, this is the crazy part about everything. You give us the disease to give us the cure. It's the crazy part about everything. That's like a fireman starting a fire and then showing up with a fire truck to put it out. There would have never been a fireman had you not started the fire. Celine, how you doing, Celine? Celine said, when they started paying people to get the vaccine, I knew it was BS. Let me tell you something once again. Like, Celine, I agree 100% with you. Number one, why are you trying to make me take this so bad? And I understand people saying, oh, well, it's a matter of public safety. It's a matter of public health. Let me tell you something. If it was a true and present danger where motherfuckers was lying in the street wrapped in white blankets waiting for the trash truck to come and fucking pick up, if it was going to create a situation like that, guess what? Shit would be shut down. Shut down. All the way. All the way. The Army and National Guard will be delivering us food and shit like that. So it's not something that can't be managed. Man, get the hell out of here. Ruben said, the powers that be believe that people will pay anything to save themselves. That they do, and so they charge. That they do, and so they charge. And let me tell you something. The sad part about everything is if America cared about you being healthy, then why does healthy food cost so fucking much? Let me tell you something. If I wanted to buy a chocolate cake, maybe that should cost $15. And maybe some salmon should only cost me $3. You got what I'm saying? Maybe a Happy Meal should be $15. And maybe a grilled chicken sandwich should be $6.50. I don't know. Y'all tell me. If I'm saying something wrong, tell me I'm saying something wrong. But they give a fuck about your health. So none of this shit to me adds up. None of it makes sense. Christina said, the cure is out there. Most things can be prevented, but instead of continuously educating people, they tell them that this treatment works. A lot of people who have had cancer and other illnesses wind up curing themselves using natural remedies. And when they tell their doctors, the doctors tell them they're doing damage to their bodies by using holistic remedies. They mad because they won't benefit off a continued medication plan. You know what? I can actually agree with that. I can literally actually agree with that. You know what I mean? For some people, I have heard, like one of my friends told me that he had breast cancer. True story, man. If I'm lying, I'm flying, and I ain't took off yet. He told me he had breast cancer, and I was like, oh, wow, that's crazy. And then he said that he took like baking soda and something else, and he did this twice a day for so long. And then he said his breast cancer wound up going away. Now, that's not me saying to you, take this for breast cancer. But what that is me saying is like, wow, that was crazy. That was literally crazy. I don't know if it's true, but let me tell you something. If I found myself in that situation, I'm going to try it. What I do know is a lot of times we spend so much trying to stay healthy in a system that's put together to work in conjunction with each other to keep us sick. Man, look at the shit that's in our food. Let me tell y'all something. If you don't believe me, look it up. But I suggest you look it up anyway. Our bodies cannot process high fructose corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup. Our bodies can't process that. It literally can't. But it's funny because it's almost like crack. It's addictive. Sugar is more addictive than crack, actually. And I think only followed by caffeine. Let me tell you something. Our bodies can't process it, but it's allowed to be in our food. Did you know that for that shredded cheese, you know why shredded cheese stays separated and shit like that? Sawdust. You'd be surprised at what the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, allows to be in our food. There's a certain amount of insects and also mouse droppings that's allowed to be in peanut butter. I don't make this shit up, but look it up for yourself. There are plenty of things that are not healthy that they put in food. They even put poisons in food. Believe it or not, they put poisons in food. Let me tell you something. Do you buy the little carrots in a bag? You ever notice how long those little carrots take forever to rot, to decompose? They take forever. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? And if it's whatever is put into them carrots, if it takes so long to make that decompose, imagine what it's doing in your body. See, we got to stop thinking. We got to change our mindset. See, we're much like pets in a way. And we wait for our masters to feed us. You know what I mean? To do everything for us, literally. There is very little that we as people do for ourselves. We think we're doing it for ourselves, but we're not. Most of us don't know how to fish, don't know how to hunt, don't even know how to put a seed in the ground and pull food out, sustenance out. You got what I'm saying? Most of us don't know how to do none of these things for ourselves. And these are things that we need to figure out sometimes. I'm telling you, even if you're growing something just to supplement the food that you bring in your house, something that you could say, I grew this and I know where this came from. I know what's in this food that I'm going to feed my child, that I'm going to feed my family. Because we have no control over what's going into our body. We have no control at all. Let me see. Grow Man said genetically modified seeds busts the bug stomach when he eats it. Yes, indeed. So many stomach problems now. And the honest to God truth, even that artificial bloating that a lot of us get, It's from the stuff we put in our body. Derek Speaker. Hey, Derek, I served with him in the Marine Corps. Hi, bud. Death tolls are no different from other years. Stop listening to media. Let's go fishing. Bro, honestly, you're literally just saying the same thing that I was just sitting up here saying. Like, literally, I think you kind of came in like halfway and probably heard me ranting about something. But this is really like what I'm saying. We have to stop believing everything that we're being told. Derek said, wait, I'm from Wisconsin. Cheese is awesome here. Ruben said bugs are used in the coloring of yogurt. Yes, they are. But some bugs are actually nutritious and things of that nature. But what I am saying is when it comes down to like freaking mouse droppings and shit like that, that's not good for any damn body. And I don't think that any amount should be allowed into our foods. I think that half of the dyes and stuff that they use that's not good for our body should not be in our food. Like if you really cared about the people's health, then you wouldn't be running around talking. So obesity is supposed to be an epidemic in America. So if obesity is an epidemic, really you might as well say pandemic because most Americans are overweight. So if obesity is a pandemic, then why does the government allow them to put this shit in our food? I'm a smoker. I smoke cigarettes, I do. But let me tell you something. It's so many dangerous fucking things in cigarettes, and cigarettes cause cancer, and the government has not said, oh, y'all can't have cigarettes. You got what I'm saying? So it's like if you really cared about our health, if you really give a fuck about our health, then let's be real. But never, ever believe when a president stands in front of you and say it's not about your freedom, a president from America, when they left fucking England and all that shit, because in England, it wasn't about their freedom. It was about what the king wanted. And so they came over here because they was tired of that bullshit. And now you want to make this the same thing because it's not about your freedom. Come on, man. Let's be real. It's always about your freedom. And the more we give away, the more we die inside. The more we give away, the more we give of ourselves and our identities and our ideas. And yes, our perceived freedoms. It's crazy the way it go. But I tell you what, how long will it be before they start marking people? Because if you got to carry a passport to say, I got vaccinated, it's almost like they're trying to punish people for not doing it. They're trying to punish you. Oh, so you won't be able to get into places. You won't be able to do things. You can't work and take care of your family. You can't work. I'm surprised it hasn't come out yet that, hey, you can't go to the market without a visa. I'm surprised they're not doing that in some places. Let me tell you something. Their agenda is that we all take this vaccine. They won't get me. But one of the lines, one of the last frontiers, honestly, is for the government to start stepping in and doing stuff, and that they have with the Department of Labor. Because they know if a man doesn't work, if a woman doesn't work, then their family can't eat. Their family can't pay bills. And so now shit just got real. Shit just got real. And how many places do you work at that have at least 100 employees or more? Dollar Tree, Dollar General, McDonald's. I mean, come on, man. Come on. Come on. Let's really think about this. Let me tell you something. I did not fight and watch friends die for somebody to tell me that it's not about your freedom. Come on, man. It's always about your freedom. Because let me tell you something. If you don't have the right to choose what you want to do, then where's your free will? Where's your free will? What does it even mean? You got what I'm saying? Let me read a couple more comments. Let me see. Grow Man said bugs are some of the most nutrition. I agree with that. There's a lot of grubs and stuff like that that have a lot of protein. Christina said the cost of healthy food is so far. Oh shit. Hold on. The cost of healthy food is so far from unhealthy, most people can't afford it. For instance, a family of two that eats healthy monthly will cost about $600. So people on a budget will buy what can last and not necessarily what's beneficial. I like that. You buy what will last and not what's beneficial, especially because they are on your back so much to work so much, and most people work 2 jobs. You can't afford to go to the market every day. You can't afford to be in and out and try to feed your kids healthy, and half of them latchkey kids that feed themselves, they're not preparing, like dinner with asparagus and freaking, fish and everything else. They're going in the refrigerator and heating up Hot Pockets. You got what I'm saying? She also said it's like they do it on purpose. We eat the crap. We develop diseases. We go to the doctors to get medication. It's a setup. The food that's out now didn't even have the ingredients in them when I was growing up. We become addicted and then become addicted to the medication. So we think we need it. So we depend on it. And not only that, we are put in a situation where we're supposed to believe everything our fucking doctor tells us. If our doctor says it, it gotta be true because it's a fucking doctor, right? Well, let me tell you something. This is gonna sound crazy when I say it to you. I know. Can you imagine how many doctors did not graduate at the top of their classes? Can you imagine how many doctors took exams and just eked by? Just squeak, squeak, squeak. I mean, shit. Half the things you learned in college, do you remember that bullshit? Do you remember it? Let me tell you something. I spent a lot of money on college. Ask me how much of that shit I remember. Thank God there is the internet. Thank God there's a Google, because I may have learned about concepts and stuff when it came down to business. And there may have been a few things that stuck with me, but I guarantee you there's nothing miraculous about a doctor. It's just somebody who went to school, and just like I went to school for business, I may know business better. Well, I know business better than a doctor who knows heart surgery. You got what I'm saying? It's just the field of expertise you choose to go to. But if you sat back and you learned that information, matter of fact, if your father was a surgeon and he teaches you how to be a heart surgeon, you're probably more qualified to be a heart surgeon than somebody who's coming from college who got a degree to be a heart surgeon. And it sounds crazy, but that's how knowledge works. Most of the time, it's not about you going to school. It's about that OJT. You can read as many books as you can, but if you ain't cut a motherfucker open and you ain't working on hearts, then guess what? And the sad part about it is a lot of these teaching hospitals, a lot of them people who are practicing, because that's why doctors have practices. They're practicing. So just because they cut open your heart, you don't know if you're the first heart. And ain't nobody going to tell you that. You don't know how well they did in school. You don't get to see their SAT scores. You don't get to see theirs. All you know is they have doctor, and we respect doctor. We respect that word. And so with that word comes an assumption. And the assumption is they will keep you alive. They will keep you safe. And once again, absolute power corrupts absolutely. You give somebody so much power over you in your life that you're willing to do anything they say. That's power. That's power. Proud of you, Miller. Thank you, Derek. I appreciate that. Grown Man said red dye is the #1 cause. I think that's for cancer, I believe. Look at the organic section at the market. That'll let you know. Let me see. Derek said it's all in Revelations. The Bible is correct. It's happening now. Grown Man said withholding information, man, all the time. Derek Speaker said you're still fighting, brother. Bro, I always will. Grown Man said because they hold back the information. Yes, they do, and they hold back. So you know what the worst part about everything is? People, a lot of these corporations and stuff, and our government itself holds back plenty of information from us. But you know what? They may hold it back, but it doesn't forgive us for not critically thinking. It doesn't forgive us for not making sense of the things we see in front of us. It just doesn't. We literally need to understand. We literally need to open up our eyes, lift the veil. Because right now, so many people are like sheep to the slaughter. So many people are like sheep to a slaughter. And you know what? We want things to be normal. Well, guess what? Nothing is ever normal. Whatever you create your life to be, that becomes your normal. And anything outside of that, it infringes on your normal. We want things to be how it was. But how was things before this? It's always one crisis after the other. It is. Let me tell you something. So a long time ago, and I talked about, you know what, I'm not even going to go into that. Because sometimes I feel like I need to highlight things that were called conspiracies and how later on down the road it came out that it wasn't a conspiracy. Like, I think that one thing that I learned a long time ago, I was told by a professor that the more you learn, the more you kind of isolate yourself, in a sense. The more you learn, the more you isolate yourself. Because for people who don't learn those things, it's a foreign concept. And because it's a foreign concept, a lot of times people don't want to listen. But because I learned things that I didn't know yesterday, and I think that phrase, that conversation kind of haunts me because it makes me worry sometimes about sharing things that I learned because I'm well aware that sometimes shit just sound crazy. And I can't believe that okay, the Food and Drug Administration exists for a reason, but the things that they allow to occur, that's my problem. The things they allow to occur, the things they allow to be put in our food. I think to myself, okay, well, America is supposed to stand for something. No matter how fucked up America is, to some degree, it always stood for something. People can go out front and burn a flag if they want to today. And then this group of people can feel a certain type of way because the flag is being burnt. But what's understood between all Americans is that you can feel that way. Is that you can even do it. And I don't care. Some people say, oh, well, I think you should be shot for burning the flag. You're free to feel that way. But what it seems that we're no longer free to do is decide whether we want to be vaccinated or not. And they're saying, oh, it's a public health concern. I tell you what, how about the government be real about this whole thing? And yeah, it's going to be people out there like, I told you. You know what I mean? It's going to be people out there like, oh, I always knew. But man, none of that shit matters at the end of the day. All I care about, honestly, is the truth. And let me tell you, the way I look at things is we're born dying. So every single day you wake up, you are one day closer to your death. And something that's inevitable is that it is coming. You can't control the way, you can't control the rate, you can't control the speed, you can't control if it's by a person, if it's in your sleep. You can't control anything. And this is the crazy part. Death comes like a thief in the night. You have to live every day knowing that one day you'll die. Right now, as I'm speaking these words, somebody is taking their last breath. And by the grace of God, it's not me. I could leave here tonight and die, literally. So guess what? There is nothing that you can tell me that is going to prolong my life, that is going to save my life or anything else. Guess what? There are people who are 100% healthy, COVID, and drop dead. And there are people who are sick, who got COVID and just had the sniffles. Let me tell you, it's not a cookie cutter thing. Whether you get the shot or not, it's not a cookie cutter thing. You can get a breakthrough infection and die. So me taking this shot is not a guarantee that I'll live, and it doesn't even protect you from the D variant. And if it don't protect you from the D variant, it's not going to protect you from any other variant. It's not. I was reading an article the other day that was talking about the Mu variant, MU, talking about the Mu variant. And I'm saying Mu variant because I didn't hear someone pronounce it. It's just the way I read it, MU. So I'm assuming it's Mu or Mu. I don't freaking know. But they were saying that it was resistant to vaccination. But then it all points back to when I was talking about the imperfect vaccinations, because it's not something that kills the virus. Rather, it's something that allows the host to still remain alive, that allows the host to thrive, therefore allowing the virus more time to live and change into something different, into something more deadlier. And that's what's happening. And I've been speaking on that for a long time. I mean, the honest to God truth is, I think, man, I don't know. They created a monster. They tossed it on us, and now they're trying to peddle us a cure. But to me, this is all working up to something. And what that something is, man, I don't know. I don't have an inkling. I can't even share what I think it is, because I let me tell you, I do have some thoughts, but those thoughts I don't necessarily want to share, because once again, I have to do some things with some discernment. I have to sit here and think to myself, like, once I say something and it leaves my lips, it leaves my lips, and I have to stick to factual information, because the moment I literally dive into what I feel and what I think, then the facts no longer matter. It just means that I feel a certain type of way. Let me tell you something. Even when I say that a president saying it's not about your freedom, then you're questioning everything that this country is supposed to be built on. Man, let me tell you something. You talk about America, you can't say nothing. If you ask people three words to describe America, I guarantee you one of them will be freedom. One of them will be freedom. If I'm lying, I'm flying. One of them be freedom, and I'm going to go so far as to say I'm going to predict two of them. One will be liberty, and one will be freedom. Now, the third one, that can change. But I guarantee you, if you ask people randomly 3 words to describe America, most likely the majority of people will say freedom or liberty or both. Or both. So at the end of the day, I don't think it's far-fetched for me to say that factually, factually, a president should not stand and say it's not about your freedom, because just to imply that is an infringement on the rights that you're supposed to have as an American. Just the honest to God truth. But I think what this pandemic is showing us, and something that we should be thankful for, is that this pandemic is showing us really they demonize the people they want to demonize. If America has a problem with you, you're the demon. I mean, for a while there, it was the Muslim population, right? They all terrorists. They ragheads. Everybody was allowed to run around saying what they were saying. People actually attacked them. Matter of fact, I'll do you one better. When COVID started and President Trump said the Kung flu, people was beating up Asians and shit. You got what I'm saying? People was mad at Asians. And then the crazy part is, in an effort to protect the Asians, America came up with a bill to help protect them. You got what I'm saying? I mean, let's look at this. At the end of the day, what are your rights as an American? Matter of fact, what's your right as a human being? You got you're supposed to have the right to be able to go out and make a living for yourself. But the moment he stepped to that podium and said that the Department of Labor had to put in an emergency mandate that any company with 100 employees or more had to get vaccinated, knowing that covers 80 fucking million people. That's 80 million people's right to choose what goes in their body. 80 million people was smacked down just like that. Now, granted, some of those 80 million people don't care. Maybe 50, 60, 70% of them may not care. But if 10 million care, that's 10 million people who have to put something in their body against their will. Let me tell you, just to let you know, I know what that feels like. So when you go overseas, you get, like when you go to war, you got to get all of these crazy shots in the military. I mean, they give you shot after shot after shot after shot. If you don't get your paper signed off on and you take that shot and you leave that room and it's not signed off on it, if you show back up and they say, hey, you need this shot, and you say, no, I already got it, that shit don't fly. You got to take it again. You got to take it again because it wasn't signed off on. So your word means nothing. And even if you don't want it, that don't matter because it's not about your freedom in the military. That is words you use when you're dealing with the military, when you're dealing with a dictatorship. And let's be real. I mean, the military, in a sense, is almost a dictatorship because guess what? You do what you're told and not what you want. Your day from sunup to sundown is pretty much planned for you. It is. And let me tell you something. Even when you're on base and you're living let's say a regular life, if formation is at 0 dark 30, guess what time formation is? And guess what time your ass better be there? They can put you on restriction. You got what I'm saying? They could say you got to move out of your house into this room for 30 days. And guess what you got to do? You see, in the military, it's not about your freedom. But we're not in the military, are we? Should the president stand in front of the masses and literally say it's not about your freedom? Should that ever come out of the mouth of the leader of the supposed free world? Should it ever be uttered for 2 seconds? Should that even be a concept in our government that it's not about your freedom? Should it? And let me tell you something. People could say, dude, you're making too much over this phrase. Am I? Am I really? Knowing the history of this country? Am I? Knowing that they was sterilizing people, talking about it was for the better. Check out Buck versus Bell. Check it out. Tell me if I'm lying. When they saw that people were not fit to have children, who makes that choice? Who makes that decision? You got what I'm saying? Who meters the love that you can share with somebody? Who gets to tell you whether you can have children or not? I mean, shit, look what's happening in Texas. They telling those females down there, hey, at 6 weeks, can't get an abortion. I don't care if he was raped. I don't care if it was incest. You can't get an abortion. What the Supreme Court did, nothing. I ain't looked up on it lately because the way I look at it at this point, it's weapons of mass distraction, but it just goes to show you, like I said, when they take your freedom away, they don't just snatch it from under your feet. That's called jail. When they take your freedom away, it's a little at a time. It's a little at a time. They change the laws here and there, just a smidgen. Sometimes they take big jumps and the general public at large may fuss over it. The general public at large might get upset about it, but I tell you what, once they have the masses doing it and it's just a small pocket of resistors, man, it don't matter. Because who cares about the small pocket of resistors? You got what I'm saying? They play us like fiddles every morning to their delight. And we still haven't figured it out that we need to be doing this together. We're stronger together. But it's easier for us to be apart because America pushes this idea on us that we are independent, that we are strong, that we don't need anybody, that what we do is what's best. And they tell our children now, oh, well, if you feel that way, that's okay. That's okay. Maybe that's why our schools get shot up, because somebody felt a certain type of way and it was okay for them to project their anger onto their unsuspecting classmates. Maybe that was okay. I don't know. But it's what America is pushing. And when America is pushing that, then we wind up fucking buying it, and we wind up, it becomes contagious. It's a contagious and infectious way of thinking. It just literally is. We can't turn around and just fucking do what we're told like this. We just literally can't. This is the funny part. Since the pandemic happened, I'm going to tell y'all, I've modified my life a little, but I've been living my life. And let me tell you something. I never really caught colds like that in my lifetime. I get them occasionally, I do. But for the most part, I've always been a hand washer. For the most part, I never really liked big crowds. I feel crazy, but even after I had the experience I did in the military, I really can't stand big crowds. So I try to steer clear of a lot of things. You know what I mean? And it doesn't mean that I'll never experience COVID. It never means that COVID won't knock on my door. But what it does mean is that I try to take care of me to the best of my ability. So I've been living my life, going to the market, doing the things I need to do, pumping gas, going places where people are at to do what I have to do. Because life's not going to stop because COVID happened. But all I could do is try to live my life as safely as I possibly can. You got what I'm saying? And that includes a lot of the habits I already had. Let me tell you, like I said, if you look at my hands have always been dry. I always have cracked skin because I do sanitize my hands. I do wash my hands. I do. I don't really touch stuff and then touch my face. I don't do stuff like that. And maybe because I'm not a germaphobe, but man, I just seen people do weird shit in my lifetime. Especially being in the military, man, I've seen people do the most, shoot their snot rockets, grab them, flick them, and go on to wipe their hand on their pants and keep it moving. And you're not thinking about you taking that hand, grabbing like 10 other things in your daily life. Like, man, it gives me the willies. It does. You know what I mean? So I got to protect me. So what I'm saying is, all in all, when it's all said and done, think about this. Let me start from here. This is what I want y'all to think about. Whenever you think about the phrase that it's not about our freedom, you need to think about what are your rights. And at one point in time, when it wasn't about our freedom, slavery was okay. It was actually a matter of national security. And that was on the books. Look it up. So it was what was best for our country. Time went on. Alcoholism, the alcohol prohibition at one time, literally, it was what was best for our country. They didn't want anybody getting addicted to alcohol. And so the U.S. government actually poisoned barrels of alcohol. And I think like 10,000 Americans died because of that, because of America doing what was best for people. Just putting it out there. At a point in time, interracial marriages were just not in the best interests of our public. They just wasn't. They would influence children, and the gene pool shouldn't be watered down with these inferior genes. Sounds a lot like Hitler to me, but I mean, this was in America. Gay marriage, once again. I don't care whether you condone it or not. Why do you give a fuck about who somebody loves? About who somebody want to be with? I don't care. I literally don't care. Why is it that America creates this culture where you physically get upset because someone's doing something that you don't think they should do? Like, not that they're doing it to you, but they're doing something that you don't think they should do. I could tell you about a million things that I don't like to see. Like, I really don't like to sit and see certain things with my own eyeballs. I don't like to see certain things. But I don't cuss people out for doing it. I don't. Because guess what? What you eat don't make me shit. And at the end of the day, what you're doing in your life, it doesn't affect mine. It doesn't. And if I don't like what I see, I can always change the scenery. That's just how it goes. You got what I'm saying? It's just how it goes. Do I agree with how some people dress in public? No, I don't. But am I going to run up behind somebody and pull their pants up? It's their right to dress that way, regardless of whether I like it or not. It's just the way that it go. You got what I'm saying? I mean, once again, looking back at what America was doing for what was best for the country, contraception. Oh, told us it was against God's plan. It's interfering with God's plan. Abortion, interfering with God's plan. And the funny part is, what's always been pushed to me is that everything is preordained. And if everything is preordained, then shit, God already knew you was going to get that abortion. God already knew that you was going to agree to pay for this abortion. God already knew all of this. It was already written, so it's just going to happen. And in situations where it's not preordained, we got free will. If you don't believe in stuff being preordained, we're supposed to have free will. So if we have free will, and if God is omnipotent and he knows everything, and when I say God, I'm talking about whatever God you choose to believe in is omnipotent. Omnipotent. Outside of the realm of man. Omnipotent. He knows everything. He does everything. And it's not like one of those crazy situations of the oxymoron, like, can God create something so heavy that even God cannot lift? Now you would say, well, he God, so God can create something that's so heavy that God himself can't lift, but he's God, so he can lift anything, but he can create. And it leads you into this whole circular thinking. I don't even know why I went that way. But it's just me saying, at the end of the day, how can somebody tell you what's right or wrong for you? What's right or wrong for your family? And how can we be at a point where they're mandating people to get shots? I mean, it's almost scary. It really is. Because if they can make us take these shots, and let's just say, if I'm right about gain of function testing, and I guarantee you they're trying to stop funding for it now, because I do think somebody dropped the ball here and COVID got out. But if they're trying to stop gain of function, and I'm actually right, I mean, what else can happen? What else can they make us do and tell us it's for our society, it's for the best, it's for America? What'll happen next where they tell us it's not about our freedom? It's about the person next to you. You got what I'm saying? It's about the person next to you. It's about the people you love. Well, how about this? How about I joined the military, and when I joined the military and agreed to give my life over to Uncle Sam for however many years our contract would be together, how about I thought I was doing what was best for my family then? That's when it wasn't about my freedom. It was about what was best for the whole. So it wasn't about me. But I signed a contract for that. I willingly walked into that. I don't feel that way about this. I don't. And I feel like no matter how many commercials come out, no matter how many famous people you pay to tell me how great of an idea this is, no matter how many debates and arguments, no matter how much the media beams down into our head as we watch TV to make us believe that if somebody doesn't take this shot, they're a bad person. Let me tell you something. At the end of the day, I fought. So if nobody else has right to say anything, shouldn't the people that put their money where their mouth were at least have a right? You got what I'm saying? You ever see somebody that felt like they had more right to something than somebody else, like because they cleaned it? Oh, I cleaned up, the house, so what I say, go. Because I keep it clean, I keep it fixed, I keep it moving. Oh, I keep this car working in perfect condition. So why wouldn't it be mine? Why would they not feel more ownership of something? Feel more strongly? But even though I can say that, does it mean in reality that I do? Does it mean more in reality that because I fought for America that I have more right to it than anybody else? No, it doesn't. All it simply means is that I cared enough about an idea that no longer seems to apply. I mean, I cared enough about your freedom to lose mine. Think about that. All my life growing up, I heard the military ain't no place for a black man. I don't know, maybe they saw it in Boys in the Hood or whatever. But prior to that coming out, I heard about it. When my mother found out that I joined the Marine Corps, because I didn't tell her anything, man, she was disappointed. She cried. You got what I'm saying? She cried. And the crazy part about everything was I still did it. So if I gave my freedom for our freedom, then how can the president say it's not about your freedom? Then this is all a lie. Is this the Matrix? Did you take the red pill or the blue pill? You got what I'm saying? Let's jump down a rabbit hole and see how far it goes. Tashana, hey Tashana, she said DCC said all students must be vaccinated by January 2022 or they can't attend that college. Yo. So it's almost like a punishment if you don't get it. Now you can't get educated on ground. I wonder will they say that to the people that are on fucking that are doing online classes? Will that be a thing? Oh, if you want to go here, then at all you need to be vaccinated. They're just forcing everybody into a stall. You got what I'm saying? Let me tell you something. So everybody might say, oh, this is a good thing. This is a good thing. But let me remind y'all all of something. So it's going to sound crazy, but just rock with me for a second. So turkeys are born on a farm, eggs hatch, all these turkeys come out and they doing their thing. And for all intents and purposes, they have a good thing going. I mean, the farmer feeds them and the farmer calls to them and throw out corn and other things for them to eat, and they eat and they eat and they eat. And for all intents and purposes, they got a place to sleep, a place to eat, and they're just being provided for and they're happy as pigs and shit. So one day, the farmer does what he does every morning. He comes out and he calls out to the turkeys, and he'll throw out corn and everything, and he'll throw out just enough where they get a little taste, they wet their beak, and then he'll turn around and walk to the slaughterhouse. And them turkeys will gladly follow him to the slaughterhouse. And they don't fucking know. They don't know, because for all intents and purposes, this the hand that feeds them. You got what I'm saying? See, trust is a funny thing. Trust is a funny thing. And that farmer earned the trust by feeding them for so many months until they reached around that 5-6 month old mark where Thanksgiving was round in the corner and it was time for some heads to roll. But they all lined up for their heads to roll. How weird is that? Just think about it. A lot of times we trust blindly. We literally trust blindly. And we want things to be the same. Even though we know we've probably sat and watched chickens before us go inside and never come out again. Maybe it's like that movie Sausage Party, right? Oh, they come and get you and they take you home and you go to heaven or whatever. And it was supposed to be this great place until they found out the truth. So my whole thing is when the truth comes out about all of this, and it may not be no time soon, but by that time, our rights will be infringed upon and to be done for so long that it'll just become commonplace. But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, I wonder what will be the story that we all will tell. Will we talk to our grandchildren or our great-grands about, the great COVID vaccination of 2021? The moment it all changed. The moment, it was a different time in history. It was 9/11. That's when everything changed. But now, 9/11 is just a blip on the screen. It's like bloop, a flash in the pan. Now it's the pandemic. Give us a little bit more time. A little bit more time. It's coming. It's coming. Keep that in mind. Keep your eyes open. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight and really, really freaking participating in this conversation. And if you really dig what we talk about or whatever, take some time out and share this. You know what I mean? Because although most people might not agree with every concept and people might not agree with everything that I'm saying, what I'm telling you is you look this stuff up. Look this stuff up, I'm telling you. And if you find it to be true, pass it along. We need to share the truth. Take away these labels so we can come together as a people and we can change the things that are being pushed upon us. So always find a reason to smile. Always find a reason to laugh. There's way too much bullshit going on in this world not to. I love you.
La 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 la.